This video is for educational purposes only, not medical advice. Always consult your doctor before making any dietary or lifestyle changes. In the wilderness, with actual bread falling from the sky every single morning, free, effortless, exactly enough for the day, the Israelites started begging Moses for something else entirely. Not more manna, not meat, not luxury. They wanted their cucumbers back, their onions, their garlic, ordinary vegetables from Egypt, remembered with such specific longing that the book of Numbers names them one by one, as if the writer knew we'd need the exact list to believe it. Think about that for a second. People fed by an actual miracle every morning still missed a simple vegetable plate more than almost anything else. That's how much a real, ordinary meal, made from real ingredients, actually mattered, even standing next to something miraculous. Nancy orders takeout at least 3 nights a week. Same few apps, same handful of restaurants, food that arrives in a bag and gets eaten straight out of the container more often than off an actual plate. She's not lazy. Her evenings are just full, and takeout is simply what fills the gap. What Nancy has never once considered is that every single meal in the Bible, from a shepherd's lunch to that wilderness cucumber craving, was made from real, whole ingredients, prepared by hand, with nothing ever arriving in a bag. By the end of this video, you'll have 10 of those meals, including the exact dish built around that cucumber craving, and every one of them is just as easy to make tonight as anything you'd order on an app. If you're new here, subscribe to Ancestral Fix. Every week we find what the ancient world knew and what your body still needs. Stay with me. Number 10. Lentil stew. In the book of Genesis, Esau comes in from the field, exhausted and starving, and trades his birthright to his brother Jacob for a bowl of red lentil stew, a story significant enough to be remembered for thousands of years, built entirely around the value of one simple meal in a moment of genuine desperation. A small pot of lentils simmered soft with onion, garlic, and a little olive oil makes a warm, savory dinner in under 30 minutes, delivering real protein and fiber that a delivery order simply does not match, and it costs a fraction of any takeout order. Ever notice how the meals people remember most, in scripture and in life, are rarely the fancy ones? Let's keep going. Number 9. Broiled fish. In the Gospel of John, the risen Jesus meets his disciples on the shore of the Sea of Galilee at daybreak and prepares fish over a charcoal fire for them to eat, a simple, direct morning meal by the water after a long, difficult night. A simple piece of fish, pan-seared or broiled with a little olive oil, salt, and lemon, takes about 10 minutes and delivers real protein without a single processed ingredient involved, faster than most delivery apps could even confirm your order. Number 8. Barley bread. Barley was one of the most common grains in ancient Israel, tough enough to grow in poorer soil where wheat struggled, and the book of Ezekiel lists it among the grains ground together for the prophet's own bread during a period of hardship. A simple loaf of dense, whole grain barley or wheat bread, torn and eaten alongside a meal, replaces the roll or garlic bread that comes free with most takeout orders, minus the refined flour, added sugar, and preservatives that come along with it. We're almost halfway there, and every single one of these so far costs less than the delivery fee alone on Nancy's usual order. Number 7. Roasted grain. In the book of Ruth, Boaz personally hands Ruth roasted grain to eat alongside her bread at mealtime, ordinary field food, not a special occasion, offered with a kindness that's remembered specifically because of how simple it was. Dry toasting wheat berries or barley in a pan until golden, then tossing them warm with olive oil and salt, makes a simple, satisfying side dish that takes 10 minutes and pairs with almost anything. Number 6. Olives and bread. Olive oil and bread together were about as everyday as a meal got across the ancient Mediterranean world, mentioned throughout the Old and New Testament as a basic staple, not a delicacy reserved for special occasions. A slice of good bread, torn and dipped in real olive oil with a pinch of salt, alongside a small bowl of olives, makes a simple starter or light meal that predates the breadbasket at any restaurant by roughly 3,000 years. Number 5. Fig and raisin cakes. In the first book of Samuel, an Egyptian servant, abandoned by his master and starving in the wilderness for 3 days, is revived specifically with a cake of pressed figs and raisins alongside bread and water. Notice what he wasn't given: nothing processed, nothing packaged, nothing from a bag. A modern version, dried figs and raisins pressed together with a few chopped nuts, formed into small cakes, makes a dense, naturally sweet dessert that needs no oven and no added sugar. Number 4. Stewed beans and grain. That same passage in Ezekiel that mentions barley also lists wheat, beans, lentils, and spelt, all ground together into one bread, a recipe modern nutritionists have actually studied for its balanced amino acid profile when grains and legumes are combined, each filling in what the other is missing on its own. A simple stew of beans and grain, simmered together with onion and cumin, makes a filling, protein-rich dinner that costs pennies compared to a delivery order and keeps well as leftovers for the next night too. 3 left, and the last 2 connect directly back to where we started. Number 3. Dates. Dates appear throughout the Old Testament as a symbol of abundance, and archaeologists have traced date cultivation in the Middle East back over 5,000 years, making it one of the oldest cultivated foods still eaten in essentially its original form today. Naturally sweet and requiring absolutely no preparation, a handful of dates, plain or stuffed with a little nut butter, makes a simple dessert or snack that beats anything from a drive-thru for both honesty and flavor, and it travels in a bag just as easily as takeout does, minus everything takeout usually comes with. Number 2. Honey and bread. The phrase "a land flowing with milk and honey" appears throughout the Old Testament as the defining description of the Promised Land itself, used again and again in the books of Exodus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, the very land those wandering, cucumber-craving travelers were walking toward the entire time. A slice of good bread with a drizzle of raw honey, rather than a processed dessert from a drive-through bag, is about as close as you'll get today to what that phrase would have actually tasted like on an ordinary evening 3,000 years ago, and it takes about 30 seconds to put together. Which brings us to number 1. This is the one from the wilderness, the one they begged for. Cucumbers with curds. Paired with curds, an early form of yogurt mentioned throughout the Old Testament. Sliced cucumber stirred into plain yogurt with a little salt, dill, and garlic makes a cool, refreshing dish that takes 5 minutes and needs no cooking at all. Perfect on a hot evening when turning on the stove feels like too much. Somewhere in a desert 3,000 years ago, with manna falling from the sky every single morning, this exact combination was worth complaining to God about. Not gold, not meat. This. That should tell you everything about how much a real, ordinary meal actually matters, even standing next to an actual miracle. Now, before you picture throwing out every takeout menu in your kitchen drawer, that's not what this is about. Takeout itself isn't the enemy, and there's nothing wrong with ordering in occasionally, especially on the nights that genuinely call for it. What we're talking about is your everyday default, the meal you reach for automatically on a tired Tuesday without really deciding to, and whether swapping it for one of these simple, whole ingredient meals a few nights a week might be worth the very small amount of extra effort involved. This is really the same quiet theme running through so much of what we cover on this channel. It's rarely about any single meal being good or bad. It's about noticing how far the everyday version has drifted from something whole, and realizing that older version is usually still just as easy to make as whatever's arriving in a bag. Let's come back to where we started. People fed by an actual miracle every single morning, who still missed a plate of ordinary vegetables enough to complain about it by name. And Nancy, 3 nights a week, opening a bag on the counter instead of a plate, never once having considered that the same simple meal those wilderness travelers were craving takes about 5 minutes to make in her own kitchen tonight. If there's one thing to take from today, let it be this. Dinner wasn't always something that arrived in a bag. For most of history, it was something you simply made with your own hands from what was already sitting in the kitchen, and apparently, it was good enough to be missed even by people eating literal bread from heaven every morning. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your doctor before making dietary changes, especially if you are managing diabetes, blood sugar, or any specific medical condition. If this kind of ancestral wisdom speaks to you, consider subscribing, because next time, we're looking at a weapon the Byzantine Empire used for 800 years that was so effective and so secret, the formula disappeared when the empire fell. We'd love to have